Yes. All right, so we have Kurdish people fighting in a number of different places for independence, and a lot of that money coming in to help fund that comes from Kurdish individuals living in Western Europe or the United States. They're funding this. All right, the Kurdish people are currently involved in the fight in Syria. They're involved in some of the unrest in Iraq. All right, so they're kind of all over the place. They are a people without a nation that they identify with. Does that make sense? There's no Kurdistan that's recognized by the UN. All right? Yeah.
So if they don't fight with the nation, technically would they classify as a terrorist group?
They're rebels. Some of their like branches of the rebellion are considered to be terrorist groups, but the UN recognizes them as rebels instead of a terrorist group because they're, I don't know what yeah. I don't know what the distinction is there. I'm going to look that up for you. But. All right, and then finally, what happened in Darfur? What's going on in Darfur? Matthew?
There's a group of government-supported militia. They were African Arabs called the Janjaweed. And they tried to ethnically cleanse. They were doing like ethnic cleansing in Africa.
Yep. Government versus people. We're going to call it Janjaweed. All right. So that's in Sudan. We had an ethnic cleansing.
Wait, so Darfur is a region?
Darfur is a region in Sudan.
Okay.
Yes. Questions about that? African Arabs, right? Most brutal campaign of ethnic cleansing that Africa has ever seen. Over 650 million displaced Sudanese refugees live outside their country. All right.
How many people live in Sudan?
Population is close to 5 million, I believe,
I mean, how are 650 million displaced?
or 5 billion. I'm sorry. Wait. I'm sorry. Wait. I will look that. Yeah. So.
It's a lot of people. But
Yes.
on the graph, it only says like 2.19 million Sudanese were internally displaced persons.
Yes, so internally, what an internally displaced person is an individual who cannot return to their home, like their home within their country. They've fled to other parts of the country. Population of Sudan. 40.53 million. Okay.
So how are there?
So 650 million displaced Sudanese refugees. So multiply the people that initially left. They've had families, right? Those people would still consider themselves to be refugees because they were forced out of their home country. We can also assume that the population may have dropped since.
It's just 2008.
Right, and so we can also probably assume that the population dropped during the ethnic cleansing. Does that make sense?
Wait, was the government running the ethnic cleansing?
Yes.
So they were paying the group, the like African Arab?
Yep.
Group to ethnic cleanse?
Yes. And they weren't necessarily paying them. It was like a government campaign, but they didn't necessarily get paid.
Oh, so the people were government. I thought the government went and got a group of like people to.
Well, yeah.
The police and.
Yeah.
Oh.
They were just sanctioned. They weren't like a military.
I'm getting more, I'm trying to get.
Looting and like, et cetera.
Okay, so if we're looking at these conflicts, right? What do they all have in common? Matthew?
Some kind of violence.
Okay, some kind of violence, absolutely. Jacob?
ethnic,
Yes.
like, reasons.
Ethnic reasons, right? All of these conflicts have ethnic ties, ethnic roots, right? Even within Iran and Iraq, where we're going to assume that they have the same religion, right? Even there, that causes some divide, but ethnic groups are the primary cause sometimes. Does that make sense? So when these conflicts break out, right, who are the most vulnerable people? Matthew?
People not, people that are like being, like the civilians that are affected by the fighting.
Okay, so we're gonna say civilians. How do we define civilian? Tommy?
Person who is like moves to a country and starts like living there.
Almost. So
That's a
people,
citizen.
that's a citizen. You're getting there. What's a civilian, Jamie?
People who live
People who live in a region. Justin?
Not government related.
Not government related, although you're
Not
getting
military related.
people who aren't involved in the fighting. Right? So civilians are often the largest casualty group during these conflicts, right? And if they're people who aren't involved in the fighting, which group within the civilians probably suffers the highest number of casualties? Arden?
Women and children.
Women and children. Right? That's not how you say children. Right? So we have conflicts between two groups, generally fought by men, and they end up dragging in more people than you would expect. So if we look at page 158, there's a graph at the bottom of that page. So everyone's flipping to 158, right? Everyone's flipping to page 158, right? We have a graph that compares U.S. and coalition troops casualties versus Iraqi civilian casualties. The U.S. and coalition troops are in blue, the Iraqi civilians are in red, right? And so when there are military conflicts, the military suffers casualties, but by and large, the largest number of casualties, especially now with our type of warfare, they are civilians, right? Carter?
How exactly is guerrilla warfare is classified as civilians though? Because I mean, anybody can pick up a gun, shoot at a U.S. soldier, and kill them. Like,
Yes.
Does that make them not
So,
civilian? Like,
They would not be considered,
Isn't guerrilla warfare like
guerrilla warfare is when
it's different, like
They
it's
shoot
small
rock.
groups of people?
yeah, so
And they just,
guerrilla
like, pick
warfare,
But that's just, but like in these
like
countries,
in
it's just a lot of
Vietnam.
people picking up guns because it's their
No.
their like hometown.
So that's
Yeah.
technically themselves.
so I would say that this does not,
Carter was like backing up.
I would say that this is not, that guerrilla warfare would not be counted in the civilian count.
Is it a war crime for participating as a civilian?
Is it a war crime to participate as a civilian?
I think you
Yeah.
should.
No.
Yeah, because you're not in uniform.
Yeah, but it's not a war crime, it just kind of happens at things.
Yeah, but it's
not
yeah,
for us.
you just like.
All right,
Wait, if you kill
Wait.
someone-